A lot's going on in the world, and we'll be talking about that here on Pod TV and seeing what folks' reaction are to a number of these stories that are taking place. Democrat Emily Gregory flips a deep red Florida House district that includes Mar-a-Lago. So this was a special election for the Florida district that includes Trump's Mar-a-Lago area and all along those lines. And Pentagon orders troops from 82nd Airborne Division to deploy to the Middle East. So the U.S. is expected to deploy around 1,000 paratroopers to the Middle East. And that was reported less than about an hour or so ago, and everything like that. 2,000 U.S. troops from the 82nd Airborne Division are to be sent to the Middle East. And late night is questioning the very big present Trump had got from Iran, because he was definitely making a statement about how he had gotten a very big present. Some people are thinking it might be oil or gas related. I think he said it was oil and gas related. And some people are also wondering why the children were there at the press conference and everything like that. So there's a lot of things going on with that as well. Shock and disbelief as Houston Airport, as 36% of TSA officers called out of work. And some folks said this is totally insane. So definitely that is something that folks are talking about as well. So lots going on in that space. And of course, if you're following sports, you know that UNC is looking for a new head coach, as they have let go of Hubert Davis and everything like that. Coming back to the news, the Trump administration is pitching a 15-point Iran peace proposal as Pakistan offers to hold talks. So Iran war live. Pakistan shares U.S. demands with Tehran, and Pakistan has conveyed U.S. proposal. Turkey or Pakistan can host the talks, senior Iranian officials say. So it looks like there's a 15-point ceasefire plan that is out there and has been offered to Iran. And we'll see how that goes and what happens in that regards. Two men arrested in an attack on the Jewish charity ambulances in London. So, two men were arrested over a Jewish charity ambulance arson attacks. So, that's something that folks are talking about as well. Golden Green Jewish ambulances. London police arrest two men in connection with the suspected anti Semitic arson attack. So, that's something that folks are talking about also. And group claiming Europe anti Semitic attacks tells CBS News it will target U.S. and Israeli interests worldwide. And in Iran war, cheap drones remain the wild card. So, however, Iran's cheap drones are changing warfare and all in that space. So, definitely, there's some folks talking about that as well. And survivor Denmark, Mette Frederiksen clings on, offering lessons for Europe. So, Denmark's Frederiksen's bruised elections as voters put Trump's Greenland ambitions to the side. So the Danish foreign minister becomes kingmaker after the Trump standoff. So Denmark braces for lengthy and challenging coalition talks. So we'll see how these coalition talks go and everything like that. Western powers were unable to secure shipping in the Red Sea. Hormuz will be harder. So definitely, even the Washington Post is reporting how to make the Strait of Hormuz irrelevant. And Iran says non-hostile ships can sail through the Strait of Hormuz. So Iran still exporting millions of barrels of oil through the strait, even as other traffic is paralyzed. So that's definitely something that people are talking about in the news as well. So it's definitely something that people are paying attention to and engaged in those conversations and all in that space. Russia says it shot down almost 400 Ukrainian drones as Moscow and Kyiv are escalating their conflict. So Russia fires more than 1,000 drones against Ukraine as spring offensive ramps up on the battlefield. So Russia launches 948 drones at Ukraine in the largest attack over a 24-hour period. So that's definitely something that people are talking about as well. So a lot of folks are paying attention to that and seeing how that is playing also. So lots going on in the world, and we'll be hearing more of folks' reactions to the number of these stories. U.S.-Israel war on Iran. What's happening on day 26 of attacks? That's right, they're in day 26 now and everything like that. So definitely folks are paying attention to that. Israel strikes Iran after, as I mentioned before, Pakistan offered to host the U.S.-Iran talks. And China, as China encroaches, even New Zealand is getting serious about its military. So it looks like they're building up their military because they're wondering about what China might do or not do, and all in that space. So they just want to be protective and see if they can stay out of harm's way. But the best way of putting that and everything like that. So we'll see how folks think about these stories and what their reactions are to a number of these things. And Iranians' strikes pose existential threats. The Gulf states tell the UN. So that's something else that we're hearing in the news as well, is that the Gulf states are telling the UN about different things that are going on in that space. And China lodges a strong protest with Japan over embassy incidents. China protested Japan over alleged break-ins at its embassy in Tokyo. So China demands Japan punish military officers who breached the embassy in Tokyo, and Japanese self-defense minister arrested after the China embassy breach. So definitely there's some things going on in that space as well. So a lot of things going on in the Asian theater also. So definitely a lot's taking place all over the world and everything like that. So Chinese military officer forces his way into Chinese embassy. I'm sorry, Japanese military officer forces his way into Chinese embassy in Tokyo. So that's what this story is about. And Dame Sarah Mullally is enthroned as the first female Archbishop of Canterbury. After 1,400 years, the first female Archbishop of Canterbury is about to be enthroned. Cancer nurse turned Archbishop celebrates election as first woman to lead the church in that area and everything like that. So she'll be installed as the first female Archbishop of Canterbury. So for the first time, the Anglican communion will be led by a woman. So definitely we're going to hear how various women are celebrating this victory and everything like that. Britain pilots social media ban, time limits, and curfews for children. Social media bans and digital curfews to be trialed on UK teenagers. So we're going to see how that plays and everything like that. So TikTok and X say they're neutral on a social media ban for teens. And Rubio plans travel to France to sell Iran war to skeptical G7 allies. So definitely lots going on in the world. I see that Sasha has joined me, so I'm going to bring Sasha in. What's going on his mind? And Rick Rosner has joined us as well. So we're going to bring both of these gentlemen and all along those lines and everything in that space. Before we get to the rest of the news, I must say to Sasha, happy birthday to you, because it is your birthday on this. And I did get that email along those lines. So definitely wishing you many great wishes on your birthday. Hope you're having a great celebration and that you will, and your lovely wife and the rest of your family will celebrate your milestone birthday. You might be 75 or 80 for all I know. But definitely it's great that you are still very active and still doing great things in media and chess and in investments and a lot of other things. So definitely just want to give you your birthday shout out.
Okay, excellent, Mark. And using this opportunity to remind you, send me links for Friday Ukrainian show and the recording for chess.
I would definitely do that. That'll be no problem at all. How are you doing, Rick? What are you seeing on the news? I'm seeing a lot of news about apparently there's a trade deal, and apparently Trump got some sort of big gift. Nobody knows what the gift is, and people are also trying to figure out why there were kids in the audience as he was having his press conference and everything like that. They might have been doing a tour or something like that.
Enters his mind at any point, and you have to wait for confirmation from other sources, because what he says often isn't accurate, either because he's bullshitting or because the people around him haven't given him the correct information. So we got to wait and see what he's talking about. So Trump's approval has reached another low for this time as president. Maybe not as low as right after January 6th when he tried to overturn the election, but a low for this time on Silver Bulletin, which is Nate Silver's, used to be 538. They average all the approval polls. He's hit 40.0% for the first time approval. That's approval, and then disapproval is 56.7%. So that's the biggest gap, the biggest negative net approval of his presidency, which makes sense because gas is flirting with $4 a gallon. It's $3.98.
Right.
We haven't created any new jobs in the last year in America. There's no net new jobs. Inflation's about to go crazy. And, we're in the middle of this war with very unclear objectives. And
apparently we're sending the airborne, which I believe is based here in North Carolina and everything, and a whole lot of them to the area, at least 1,000 or so, and something along those lines, because I did report that earlier. So they're going to go there. So maybe there's going to be a ground offensive and everything like that. I did see some news.
That's not, the objectives are not clear. That back in 1980, Iraq invaded Iran with 200,000 troops, 2,800 tanks, 380 fighter jets, and this did not knock over the regime. Are we going to go in there? Well, we don't have the troops to go there yet, to go in there as big as Iraq did, which is its next door neighbor.
Right.
But it's a hard regime to knock over that's been in place for nearly 47 years. I'm hoping, everybody's hoping, we reach some kind of negotiated settlement. And
that's what people are hoping and everything. They are saying that another industry has been impacted by the Strait of Hormuz blockage, and this is one that I was not thinking about. But apparently, there are soaring fertilizer prices that could pressure a U.S. agricultural industry that supports a lot of people and all along those lines. So apparently, this is creating a fertilizer problem as well, because they're saying Hormuz fertilizer block could upend the world's food production. So definitely, this could be problematic as well.
Well, if you look it up, the knock-on effects of what's going on in the strait and the increasing cost of fuel and byproducts, will cause inflation for the next at least 3 to 6 months, which makes the timing. If I were a MAGA, I'd be very pissed at Trump in the timing of this. I think he was thinking that Iran would just roll over and he'd have a great triumph to help him in the midterms. But obviously they're not just rolling over, and instead he's poisoning all the months leading up to the election with inflation and this ridiculous freaking war.
Ridiculous war and everything like that. Getting to another part of the war world, and I definitely want to hear from you because you've mentioned this country before and everything like that. I think there's a country that you used to enjoy, Sasha, and everything like that. But it looks like the day is marking the 50th year, speaking of conflicts, since the military coup in Argentina. And apparently there's still some people that are trying to figure out the fate of the many disappeared that were there and everything like that. And I think there's even been some efforts to remove some of the monuments that were honoring those folks and everything along those lines. So I was just wondering your thoughts, because apparently they're celebrating their 50th year of having new military leadership. And I do remember you, I think, said that at one point you remember that country being a wonderful country, and it's probably not as wonderful now after being in this kind of state for the last 50 years. But your take on Argentina?
Well, Trump gave Argentina $40 billion. If he's going to do it every year, Argentina could become a beautiful country indeed. So let's see what he's going to do. Actually, I heard, I think, yesterday some comments on Fox News. And they're saying, some commentators, I forgot their names, doesn't matter. They're saying, don't touch Trump. He is cooking. Don't disturb him. Don't touch him. Let him cook. He's very good at cooking, so let him do what he's so good at. Now, let's analyze. What is he cooking exactly? What is that? Is that something edible? Is it something what everyone will enjoy? I don't think so. I don't think that first troops will arrive on Friday. Where are they going to land? Iran now has facilities for their missiles who can hit 4,000 kilometers away, including Island Diego Garcia. And if they can do that, they can destroy all B-52s and B-2 and all other wonderful American warplanes and so on, and whatever troops there are. So I don't understand where are they going, how are they going to fight. And Iran is, they after the last year, 12 days war, where U.S. participated, they completely changed their approach. They started to build up drones, missiles, everything, so they could resist this American attacks, which they have not had capacity back in June of last year. So today is going to be very different Iran than it was back in 2025. So that's why I'm a little bit skeptical on the troops on the ground approach. But other than that, Trump has only one way: it's taco, chicken. That's the only thing.
So freaking, if I were the general, the American generals who were working on this attack, I'd be very skeptical of boots on the ground, because Iran has 610,000 regular army soldiers, plus Navy and Air, but 600,000. Another 350,000 reserves, another 150,000 Revolutionary Guard. So Iran can muster 1 million troops and if we're sending in 5,000, 1 million is, I believe, I looked it up, it's bigger than 5,000.
Okay, if you compare the military of Iran and United States, just sooner or later,
you got to get closer to your mic.
Oh, okay. It is very clear that U.S. will win this war. It may take 5 months, 5 years, doesn't matter. Totally, their capacity, military capacity, much deeper than Iran. What Iran's goal is to raise up the price of that victory, which means kill as many Americans as they can, to send missiles to American facilities in Europe, and Far East, and Near East, and just create as much damage, inflict as much damage as possible. By the way, yesterday on our Ukrainian show, Ivan, who is in Kiev now, he gave very good mathematical figures. He was saying that there was a calculation by Institute of War that Ukrainians to kill one Russian takes $800. Now, for Russians to equip and send Russian to Ukrainian front cost 2.5 million rubles, which is about $25,000 to sign. Then they have to equip them, they have to feed them, they have to pay them some money there. They have to provide some training, possibly, right? Although they don't need a lot of training, they will be killed. It's average 12 days. All those new Russian troops arriving in Ukraine, the average lifespan is 12 days. So altogether, we are looking at $30,000, and it takes $800 to kill it. So this is wonderful math, and Ukrainian are now losing 10 times less people than Russians, because they are in defense, so they are well fortified, and they're killing all these meat attacks. So maybe Iranians may take the same approach.
Russia has spent 1.2 million Russian lives in this war so far, dead and wounded. And they feel like, I guess, they can afford it. And I don't know, if we get into some shit with Iran, with boots on the ground, they have, as I said, 1 million soldiers that they can throw at us. And
speaking of those that are wounded, Trump said apparently something, because I saw this online recently, and I know you have to take things online with a grain of salt, but apparently he made a quote about people that had been wounded and maimed, I guess, in the Iranian war walking around with missing legs and arms and everything. Because a couple of people that I was seeing online were going like, that's not really possible. I mean, you can definitely.
All right, yeah, but I mean, Trump says laughable stuff. Yeah, he talked about people who lost their legs, walking around without legs now, which is, but Trump doesn't think before he speaks. To get back to Argentina, so in Argentina's dictatorship, which only lasted for 7 years, the accepted number of people who were disappeared by the government. By disappeared, that is picked up off the street, taken someplace, tortured, and then killed. 30,000 people. In more recent history, this Milley guy has actually reduced Argentina's hyperinflation from, I don't know, like from 40% a year to under 4%. And people are saying it's because he has an actual background in economics, that he's kind of a right-wing lunatic. He says a bunch of crazy crap like Trump does, but he backs it up with expertise. And he's actually calmed down
with something he's actually studied and everything like that. Hey, just really quickly in that same space, because there was another person that was coming into the conversation around Iran, partially because of what Trump has done and everything like that. But I was wondering y'all's take on Kim Jong-un of North Korea, basically saying that he wants to irreversibly cement their nuclear status, and he's using the Iran war to justify their keeping their nuclear weapons and everything like that. Does that mean that that's going to be one of Trump's next targets? And that would be definitely a big target with a lot of people as well. So he's vowing to strengthen their nuclear forces amid the Iran war.
I would say not, because North Korea has nukes that work, maybe not that well, but you don't need a nuke to work that well for it to take out 100,000 people.
Right. And
they have missiles that work not that well, but in their case, they don't have to work that well because Seoul, the capital of South Korea, another one of these mega cities that has 10 million people, is only 50 miles from North Korea. So you can have a shitty missile that doesn't throw stuff very far, and you could still kill 250,000 people in Seoul. So no, Trump will not be going after North Korea, because North Korea actually has the means right now to nuke South Korea. And
they could definitely do that and everything.
So Trump thought he wasn't going to get any pushback from Iran. He assumed that he was going to be able to do similar to what he did in Venezuela. Hey, we found a second in command, and we're just changing the name. We're just we're going to steal your oil. We're going to do all the bad we want. The regime is still going to be there. People aren't going to know because they're not going to know the figurehead who's there, but we're going to be that figurehead, and everything's going to feel great. That's what he thought was going to happen in Iran.
Right.
And so that didn't happen. And we're in an endless war. He's thinking that he can do the same thing in Cuba, hence the reason why he's talking about going into Cuba. He thought he was going to be able to do that in Greenland, but then he got the pushback from everybody else. He won't do that to North Korea now, based on everything that, one, Rick said, but number two, he just doesn't know what he's doing. He's shooting from the hip. I mean, heck, we're at war with a country that we're paying now.
Yeah, we're paying them, man. We're totally at war. Speaking of shooting from the hip and everything, what is our take on him? Yeah, go ahead.
May I add something? There is no such thing as winning the war against Iran. They are highly motivated, extremely vindictive people, especially after this bombardment and killing their Ayatollah and their advisor. That was actually a huge mistake by killing Ayatollah. You know why? He was 86 years old, man, hardly alive. He would die probably a few months later anyway. But people hated him and his regime. And in January, they were surprising. And Trump said, "We have your back." No, they don't have your back. You were killed by Ayatollah and his regime, 30,000 people, or more maybe. So, but now when Ayatollah is no longer there, so now, instead of having motivation object where they would unite against, now there is a vacuum. So there is no something that everybody hates. Unite against. Now they are uniting behind the flag. Now it's clear that there are two enemies. It's United States and Israel. That's who are killing people. That's who are invading countries. That's who are doing bombardments and so on. So now people are unifying there. Now, imagine that there is a peace. Okay, the war is over, say in 8 months, whatever it takes. Do you think that really the war is over? Do you think Iran will forgive what it happened to it twice? 2025, 12 days war, and now 2026? No, there will be a huge uprising in terrorism around the world, especially against Americans, Israelis, and so on. And it's going on for the next 55 years. It doesn't matter, okay, you won the war. Okay, you got the Strait of Hormuz, you got the oil, you got all that. So all your billionaires will become even richer. But guess what? There will be a payback time. And it's not going to be.
Yeah.
And Sasha, you're right on that. I mean, honestly, especially since the regime didn't really change, it just got more extreme with the individual that's now going to be in charge. And that regime is holding true to what it, has always felt. So, yes, we are going to be less safe based on what Trump has done. And Trump is going to claim victory. Iran's already saying that the U.S. is negotiating with itself, that there is no negotiation. Trump is out here trying his best to lie about whatever he's doing, and he's not telling the truth. I mean, this is the way he does. He wants everything golden, doesn't want if there's anything negative, he'll try and hide it. That's what he did in COVID, and that's what got millions of people killed. So that's what he's going to do now, and it's going to get even more. There's going to be even more blood on his hand because he doesn't care. He just cares about himself.
He totally is narcissistic about himself and everything like that. It looks like there's another country that is involved in a lot of this because they're being impacted, and they were an ally in the past, and they've had strong man leadership as well. But the Philippines says it's working with Washington to obtain oil from U.S. sanctioned countries, and Marcos is promising flow of oil as Philippines has declared an energy emergency. So it looks like they've got an energy emergency and everything like that, and they're trying to boost coal power as the Iran war grinds on. So what's our thoughts about this other part of the country? I mean, the world is in our backyard.
So the price of oil it's still hanging close to 100, but it's calmed down. It's for right now, it's not going to go to 150 a barrel. The price of gas in the U.S. has increased every day, but by much smaller increments. Yesterday to today, it increased by less than a penny. Well,
even with the price of oil, the price of a barrel right now will not get priced into the gas prices, for weeks to months down the road, because the price of a barrel that was $100 and $110 is what's starting to get priced into the actual gasoline price now. So gas is steadily going to go up, and we're hitting the summer season. We're hitting the travel time where you have spring break travel, you have everything else. Gas is going to get high. It's really going to cross over the average $4 or $4 a gallon easy. Diesel, because of what happened in Texas, as well as what's going on, is already jacked up. So, all your farmers and everything else. Now, because your farmers have to pay their bills, that means your food's going up. So every price is going to continue to go up based off of just this war.
Yeah, for the next 6 months, prices are going to go up, even if the war ended today. Right now, the price of oil is a little less than 89 a barrel. Because Trump says they're having peace talks. If Trump puts boots on the ground, it's going to jump up over $100 again. I want to talk about the regime, though. The U.S. has a dream that somehow this regime will go away and they'll return to the same westernized government that they had in the 70s. But 80% of Iranians have only known the Ayatollah regime. It's been in place for 47 years. And a lot of people support the regime. Mainly what caused a major thing is, social repression. the Revolutionary Guard, they function as hair police. If you're a young woman and your hair isn't sufficiently covered, you're out in public, they can harass you. And in some places, they've arrested and killed women who didn't have their hair properly covered. This caused widespread outrage, and the riots and protests where 30,000 people or so protesters were taken prisoner and killed by these Revolutionary Guard. But there are a bunch of conservative Islamic people in Iran who they don't support killing 30,000 people, but they support the regime in general. And we don't know how many people are pushing for this forgotten Western paradise of the 1970s. All the 1970s people who wore miniskirts, because we still see those pictures, all those people are in their 70s and 80s.
I mean, wouldn't that be part of the problem with Cuba as well, Rick? Because I mean, I know he wants to change Cuba over as well, but Cuba used to be a paradise for a lot of people with those Western values and everything like that. But we don't know how many of those people in Cuba actually want that the same type of paradise.
Cuba fell to Castro and the communists in, I think, 1958, which is what, 68 years ago? Yeah, no. So, but I mean, Cuba's a different thing because Cuba is in much worse shape than Iran, with shortages and I keep saying that I feel like Cuba could be bribed to let in some capitalism. That if you could pay Cuba a few $1 billion to open up some kind of
Rick, they're like China. They've already been doing that. They've had a number of people that have come. I've got friends that have visited Cuba. So it has more Western businesses and capitalistic businesses than people actually think it has and everything like that. And I don't know if it's got
so instead
Canada,
of
but there is a bunch of stuff that has already gone in there because a lot of my friends have said how much they enjoy Cuba.
We're the main country that doesn't do business with Cuba. If people from Canada, all around the world will come there for a cheap, crappy vacation. And instead of trying to fuck Cuba up all the time, which we've been trying to do, we tried to kill Castro half a dozen times with dumbass schemes. We tried to invade Cuba under Kennedy, the Bay of Pigs, that backfired. Instead of it would be so cheap just to bribe them to let us open up a capitalism zone of the size of Disneyland in Havana, where you have all these you open up a Sandals and all this different crap. But no, instead we continue to be belligerent when it hasn't gotten us very far historically.
As a matter of fact, this was from 9 days ago. Apparently, in a major concession to Trump, Cuban government opened the island to investment by Miami exile capitalists and everything like that. So apparently, there is some of this notion. And like I said, I've heard people that have gone there and they've opened American companies.
Wait. You started it off. You said they opened it up to Trump. Mm-hmm. Now, what has Trump ever done that doesn't involve him getting money or anything?
Right.
So that's the point there, is that you're not opening it up to the U.S. companies, so on and so forth. You're opening it up to Trump. You're opening it up to where Trump is getting his pay, his cut. It's the same thing when he was talking about the Strait of Hormuz being open and that it was going to be controlled by whom? Whom did he say? Did he say the U.S. at all? No, he didn't. He said it would be controlled by me. By maybe somebody in Iran and me. He never said the U.S. And this is the problem. This has never been about the U.S. or anything about the American people or about, doing what's right. It is always about Trump and how much money that he can make. When he said that, when oil goes up, we're making money. No, we're not. People are spending money. People are going broke. Who's making money? The oil companies and the Trump family, because they invested in oil. So it is everything he does, it's about him. So when you say he'd open it up, Trump opened it up, Cuba opened it up to Trump. Yeah, to Trump, not to the US, to Trump.
Yeah, it's all about what Trump can get and everything like that. Definitely trying to get his own. Go ahead, Tasha.
Ukraine and elsewhere. So the modus operandi is this.
Got to get closer to your mic.
Yeah, get closer to
There's
them.
no State Department involved in all the negotiations. It's Witkoff and Kushner, his relatives, friends, and so on, and they are arranging all kind of $12 trillion deal with Russia and something else. It's not for the United States. United States is in debt of $40 trillion. So the United States, okay, you just go there, try to survive, or you have all these poor people, they will go bankrupt anyway, so just let them. So this is all essence of Trump democracy. That's all what there is.
So
That's
Kushner,
really what it
you're
is.
talking about the guy who's negotiating for the U.S. without really being appointed the negotiator. He's just kind of this unofficial guy over there negotiating about Ukraine and other stuff. Kushner is being paid roughly $100 million a year by Saudi Arabia. So because he runs a hedge fund, Kushner, that has $3 billion to $6 billion in Saudi money that he manages for Saudi. And the standard management fee for a hedge fund is 2% a year. So if he's managing $6 billion for the Saudis, he's making at least $120 million a year in management fees, plus 20% of whatever profits those hedge funds might make. So, I mean, he's incredibly compromised. But if you were going to make a corrupt deal that would make Trump money, that might actually not be a terrible deal, Cuba's the place to do it. Cuba's like, Cuba was a place of American corruption in the 1950s. The mafia had all these freaking casinos on the island. It was America's playground until, the Cuban people led by Castro got pissed off and they kicked them out. But
yeah, that's very true and everything. Speaking of that, and just switching the topic just slightly and everything, but still dealing with the world and everything like that. But Rick, what is our thoughts about another issue that is going to impact us also, which is this notion that apparently we've got a fish crisis because the world's great fish migration are collapsing, and that's a problem for millions that are having those because a lot of countries have heavy fish diets and everything like that. So they're saying that there's a decline in the migratory fish population, and it's prompting fights for their protection. So it looks like we could be having a fish issue just
and this has been going on for decades with A, overfishing, and B, climate change changes ocean currents, which disrupts fish where their normal spawning grounds, wherever they live, wherever they migrate to, all their paths are disrupted. And another thing is the acidification of oceans. And I don't know the chemistry and the physics of all this, but as oceans warm up, they get more acidic and less healthy you've got sick ass fish. So what's going to happen is, we're going to lose a lot of wild fish, and whatever fish we have are going to be farmed fish. We eat a ton of farmed salmon already. We eat tilapia that's farmed in China, and these are these are fish they're not carnivores. A lot of the fish we love are hunter fish, like a tuna. Tuna is a big ass fish that hunts down other fish, and the oceans are getting less healthy for tuna, and instead we're going to be living on these plant eating fishes that are are raised on giant, fish ranches, basically.
Yeah, the fish ranches, just like we got these big ranches on our area and everything like that. I did see another international story that might be of interest to you, but apparently Giorgio Meloni, who runs Italy, is cleaning house after she lost a referendum on her judges and everything like that. So they were trying to do judicial overhaul in Italy, and apparently they didn't go well. So now she's having to, looks like some heads are rolling in her government as well, because it looks like they're cleaning house after she was hoping that this was going to improve that country. But I don't know if you've been reading or following up on that story as well. But if you're not, I do know that you've probably been following up on Mar-a-Lago, and it looks like, and this is what I was wondering about, and maybe if Sasha's got any thoughts, I see that Toby bounced out and everything, that we sometimes talk on this network about how he's losing some support even in the MAGA world, and Mar-a-Lago is where Trump's home residence is, and they just elected a Democratic progressive, I would call him, and everything like that, or call her, and that is right there in his territory, along with like New York being one of his territories as well. So I thought, is he losing some traction even in places where he lives?
Yeah, I don't. It's significant, but I don't know how significant. Democrats, ever since the 2024 election, Democrats have been doing better than candidates did in 2024. All through 2025 and into this year, the Democrats are outperforming, which makes sense because Trump hasn't been, and the Republicans haven't been delivering. They've mostly been delivering chaos at the airport,
chaos,
no jobs.
When they deliver chaos and spend millions of dollars, oftentimes it's not enough, because even though it's a Republican, Democrats just recently decided, and he's a powerful House candidate in North Carolina, that he's not going to his recount is not going to work. So he's going to actually step down and everything like that. And he was definitely getting a big time support and millions from conservative MAGA and Trump and a number of others. So a Trump endorsed candidate here in North Carolina took a big fall and everything like that.
All right. But people don't like the Democrats either.
Right,
but they will turn to the Democrats when the Republicans let them down. So that's what's happening. To have the Democrats manage to convince voters that they have more of a vision for America, I don't see them being any more effective in communicating that than they were in 2024. It's just that the Republicans have been sucking so bad that, they've been losing a ton of support.
Yep. It looks like Columbia.
If the Democrats had another Obama, some charismatic national leader that people could get behind, they would kick tremendous ass. But neither party has had an inspiring national leader. I mean, Trump has a cultish following. People, the people who love Trump love him more than anybody ever loved anybody else, Obama or anybody else. But we haven't had an overall inspiring leader running for president since Obama. And the last time he ran for president was 2012. That is freaking 14 years ago.
Yeah, but even some of our allies are calling him out as well, because I see the German president slammed the Iran war as illegal. We know there are some countries in the Middle East that have been calling it illegal, but the German president calls the Iran war a disastrous mistake, and that's in a rare rebuke of Trump. So even some of the European leaders are calling him out as well.
Well, I mean, because the war is unclear in its objectives. And one reason it's unclear in its objectives is just about any objective that you could say is your reason for being at war is not achievable. Yeah. There's no way to go to war and get Iran to give up its enriched uranium. The only way to get Iran to turn that stuff over is through negotiation, because as I've said before, enough uranium, 1,000 pounds, which is what Iran has, enough to build 10 nuclear bombs. If it were further enriched, that fits inside 1 cubic foot. So it fits in a car trunk. It would fit in a suitcase. Now you couldn't pick up the suitcase because the suitcase would weigh 1,000 pounds. But in terms of hiding it, you could hide it. You take 10 little boxes, smaller than a shoebox, and you just hide it throughout Iran, and you can't find Iran's enriched uranium. It's in terms of the amount of space it occupies. It's a game of hide and go seek that we could never win. The only way we could get them to give it up is to make fucking friends with Iran and say, look, you give up your uranium and make us feel like you're not going to make a nuclear bomb, and you let inspectors in, which was the deal we had under Obama, and we will give you a bunch of goodies.
Sasha.
Talk about the bomb will be made in 2 weeks, in 2 months or so on. It's garbage. Because Fareed Zakaria had an interview with the highest person in Mossad, in Israeli intelligence, and he said that Ayatollah declared a fatwa in
2024, yes.
23, I think, where he declared that Iran in no position getting any more enriched uranium that it already has, and even that enriched uranium, it's years before it could be used for producing the nuclear arms. And he said that even that enriched uranium, 60%, is a maximum that Iran can do without alienating Europeans and Americans and so on. So there was never a serious threat of a nuclear bomb by Iran. It's a hoax. It's nothing but garbage.
So I've looked it up, and this fatwa, and the first time they did a fatwa, made it forbidden to develop nuclear bombs. The first time they announced it was 2003, and they've reconfirmed it several times. Now, some people distrust it, but this is the supreme leader of Iran, the guy we blew up and killed, this 86-year-old guy. He's been against developing nuclear weapons, I guess, since the 90s.
Well,
now,
they wanted to use the leverage to, because there is a perceived threat of a nuclear bomb, so they can get maybe some preferential way to trade, or maybe lifting sanctions or whatever. So, because the real threat of Iran having a nuclear bomb, in my opinion, is equal to 0.
So, but let's talk about the physics.
But hold on. Now, it's a completely different picture. Now, Iran, regardless of outcome of this war, will make nuclear bomb. It will create more and more drones and ballistic missiles and all kinds of missiles. And now there is no way to prevent it. So Trump is best for him to do a tackle. Chicken, very quickly. Get out of there. And then try to talk to Iran. Okay, listen, okay, all things happen. Shit happens. Okay, something happens. Okay, no more. Okay, now we're friends. Okay, you do your things, we do our things, and so on. That could spare thousands of lives of Americans, of Europeans, of all kind of people from terrorist attacks or war deaths and so on. That's, in my opinion, Trump, okay, it's not politically perhaps good for him, but it's a viable option to save lives.
So let's talk about the physics for a second. Hold on. Uranium comes in 2 kinds: exploding uranium and relatively safe uranium. And exploding uranium is just a few % of all the uranium you find out in the world. So what you have to do is you take your uranium and you turn it to dust, and you put it in, I guess, a fluid, and then you spin it out in a centrifuge, so the lighter exploding uranium rises to the top like butter in a butter churn, And then you keep doing that repeatedly until right now they've 60% enriched uranium is enough to run a nuclear reactor. You need 90% enriched to make a bomb.
So with even trying to get into the nuance of it and trying to get people to understand that piece, it doesn't matter. Trump went to war to stop him from getting uranium. That's all the people care about, and that's all they'll hear the buzzword uranium and think nuclear bomb. That's all they don't care about how much needs to be enriched and so on and so forth. And that's honestly what Trump used to. That's one of his excuses that he said that he had to go to war, and that's what he's searching for right now. He's searching for a legitimate reason of why he did this that people understand and can see. There wasn't one, so he's making one up now. And then,
quick question to you: why Pakistan, say North Korea, allowed to have nuclear bomb, and Iran is not? What is the logic?
Well, because they've had them. And because, I mean, right now they're allowed to because they have them, and we can't do anything about it because they could lob a nuke at Seoul.
But again, what that question is a very valid and legitimate question. North Korea was allowed. Iran isn't. North Korea is a sponsor of terrorism. Iran is too. So we're trying. It goes back to trying to justify why you're doing what you're doing, and there's no justification that you can come up clearly to explain it. And now they're trying to come up with a justification to get out, and that's why Iran is already putting out on the news. If you didn't notice, Iran has already put out saying that we're not discussing with them. We don't know who they're discussing with. You're negotiating with yourself. They put that out on Iranian news. North Korea has already put out saying this Iranian war has justified us getting and keeping our nuclear weapons.
Right.
So what's worse now is that what Trump did, what he's done legitimately over this past year he's been in office, is create a nuclear arms race and justify the reasons these places need nuclear weapons. And us going to war with this one has just amplified that message and made people just go ahead and say, yeah, I think I'm right to get my weapons. I'm gonna go ahead.
There are reports. Now we've been negotiating with Iran that Iran put on the table the 2 days before the war, a day before we started this war, Iran offered up its uranium. They said, we'll give up our uranium if you give us stuff in return. And instead of trying to work from that point, we started a war.
Yeah, Oman had already negotiated an agreement. They had already stated there was an agreement on the table. Oman went on the news saying there's an agreement on the table. And then the next day, Trump bombs. So again, there's no justification for what he did. Absolutely none. And they're trying to come up with one that his followers can go out and repeat to everybody and make them believe. But that's why right now it's failing. If you look at all of the polling around it, nobody wanted this war but Trump. And his excuses aren't helping. Everybody's still leaving Trump over this war.
Yeah.
So let's talk about why would Trump do this? And the one reason is Trump makes shitty decisions. The Trump organization, it was not much of an organization. It had about 4 employees. So Trump did not ever have to be responsible for his decisions to a board. He just made decisions. He went out and did shit as a businessman. A lot of his decisions were stupid and bad. Trump, when he went into Atlantic City with casinos, Atlantic City is a dying East Coast city. Nobody went to Atlantic City with cheap plane flights to Vegas. So into this city, he didn't just go in with one casino. He thought, we'll go in there, we'll get all the East Coast business. He went in there with 3 casinos, so he bankrupted himself by competing. There wasn't enough gambling business. It was barely enough to support one. He went in with 3, so he was competing against himself and all of his casinos. He's a bad decision maker.
Well, and he didn't have to answer to a board. It was just Trump.
Yeah, the reason that he became the star of The Apprentice was because legitimate billionaires like Mark Cuban looked at the time it would require and said, "No, thank you. My time can be better spent elsewhere." He wasn't the first billionaire they approached. He was the first one who said yes.
That's because he likes to be had that narcissism and likes to do things that are going to highlight his narcissism and everything like that. So there's no doubt about that and everything like that. We're going to wrap up very shortly and everything like that. But I did want to get to one science story because I know you and Jacoby love science and everything like that. So what's this deal with antimatter? Because apparently in Geneva, there's an experiment that is testing it, and they have apparently succeeded in transporting antimatter. So maybe this will help with some of the deep space exploration and everything like that. But what is y'all's take on that?
The deal with the antimatter, we've been talking about nuclear weapons, right, and how one little bomb this big, a chunk of uranium this big, could kill a 250,000 people. And when you do an explosion with antimatter, it's 1,000 times more powerful. In a nuclear explosion, only 1/10 of 1% of the matter is turned into energy, and that's enough to make it the worst bomb in history. Antimatter is 100% of the matter is turned into energy. That's 1,000 times more powerful. A chunk of antimatter the size of a paper clip would be more powerful than a nuclear weapon. And yeah, if you're trying to power a rocket ship, there's no way to hold it, because if it touches anything, it annihilates itself, and you get a massive explosion. So you need to be able to come up with some kind of magnetic field that can contain it, because you can't touch it with normal matter.
We're not going to have deep space exploration until we figure out time travel or quantum tunneling, because the amount of time it takes to get to anywhere, even if you travel at light speed, which is supposedly the speed limit that you can't cross right now. I mean, we're supposedly scientists are saying that we're in the middle of a void in space. It's a void that's a couple of million light years across. If we're in the middle of that, it's going to take millions of years traveling at light speed to go through it. And even so, you not only would you have to figure out time travel, an energy source to get you to light speed, but you also have to figure out protection, because if you hit any particle at light speed, whatever you're in is gone.
Yeah, that's right. Traveling at the speed of light means if you run into a speck of dust, there's enough energy from your different velocities. It's like an antimatter explosion. So the closest star is Alpha Centauri, 4 light years away. We don't currently have the technology to get there to go even 1% of the speed of light. It would take us at least 500 years to get to the closest star. So yeah, we're not doing a Star Trek or a Star Wars thing. The only way to do it would be to do it virtually, to make it up. If you want to live in a Star Wars universe, you'd have to put on your goggles and pretend, or we're going to have to do hibernation, or just leave humans out of it altogether.
Yeah, that whole metaverse thing and everything along those lines. Just a very quick question for you.
Right now, even more so, to try and figure out the how big space is. Right now, the Voyager 1 is the furthest thing from Earth, man-made thing from Earth.
And it's been going, 50 years now?
It's going since, 47?
Since the 70s.
And it will hit 1 light day away from planet Earth, which means light would take 24 hours to get to us from the actual Voyager 1. That happens in November of this year.
And it took 48 years to go.
48 years and everything like that. Yeah. Just really quick, and I got one other quick thing for Sasha, but it's very quick. Are we going to get a new coach at UNC and soon? And will it be Tyler Hansborough and everything like that? Because he's already been released, and I know they've been looking at that coach from Florida and the coach from Arkansas and a number of other coaches.
I mean, yeah, of course there's going to be a new coach. They just fired Hubert Davis.
Right.
Outside of that, yeah, I don't know who it's going to be. It's up in the air right now because they've got to get somebody. I mean, it's a whole new world with NIL, so you got to get somebody in.
Somebody that understands NIL and everything like that. Once again, let's all wish Sasha a happy birthday because it was his birthday. And it is his birthday today. Happy birthday to Sasha and everything like that. So we'll get ready to get out of here on that note, on that happy note that it is his birthday and all along those lines. So we'll be running Modern Investment, which he recorded earlier, and I will get him the links for Friday as well. But I know we'll run that show that he recorded yesterday at its regular time of 1 o'clock.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
Bye-bye.
All right, take it easy.